Hey, Queen City Minis and more fans. So welcome, guys. We are going to be officially starting here in just a couple minutes on the stream. We're, sorry, doing the sound check here, making sure everybody hear me just good. All right, cool deal. All right, so guys, so today we're going to be painting some Spire up. I have an absolutely massive container of Spire Force Grown drones I had to paint up. I think I have like... oh, sorry about that, guys. 'Tis the season of sneezes. But guys, I have like 30 plus stands of forest grown drones to paint. So we've got a lot to do tonight. We're hoping to get at least 3 stands done, and we'll go from there. So guys, if you're in the chat, let me know what you're working on tonight, what you want to see us do in the future, and all that good stuff. So I am going to be monitoring the chat here. And let's get our overlay set. Okay. Alright guys, so welcome to the channel. My name is Vanguard J, also known as Jordan here on the channel. I've been covering Conquest, the Last Argument of Kings for about 2-3 years now, mainly doing unit deep dives and everything like that. I do want to thank our 961 subscribers out there, guys. If we could get to 1,000 by the end of the year, that would be awesome. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe down below, guys. Or, if you're looking for some sweet Conquest swag, use code Queen City at checkout through Parabellum's eShop to get 10% off of your purchases here in the future. Remember, a small portion of your purchases do go to help the channel. Most recently, we got this brand new set of, what brand is this? Kamika lav mics. So we're excited for those, and those will help us do some battle reports here in the future. Next up, we're saving up for a PTZ camera setup, as well as a new overhead rail system. And then, hopefully, some travel in the future. I'm hoping to go maybe to Adepticon to see, to play in Conquest, but the jury's kind of out if I'm going to go yet or not. So we'll find that out here soon. If any of you out there watching, if you've been in to Adepticon before, just let me know what y'all think of it. I haven't been to a major Conquest tournament yet, but I'm hoping to here in the future. So tonight, guys, these are what we are painting. We are painting... get some better light in there. There we go. So we're painting some forest grown drones. We're doing a kind of like a reddish theme for the bandages with some purple accents and then orange cloth. I think it kind of looks pretty cool. I've not gonna lie to you, I've been through about 4 different paint schemes for these guys, trying to figure out what exactly I want to paint them as. So yeah, cool. So if you want to paint along at home, guys, that's awesome. Let me know what you're painting here in the chat, and let's get rolling on some stands. Now, I do have a couple of these already with the red done. Now, I did a Skeleton Horde contrast paint over top of a Gracier Prime, and now we're just going in and picking out all the cloth bits. Usually, what I like to do is come in here and do basically the edges, and then go back and do the in-betweens. That way I kind of have everything blocked out of where things go. So yeah, I've really been looking into Spire, especially with the Siegebreaker Behemoth coming out. I know Spire kind of had a dry spell going on there, with the most recent release being Discord's going off, being the Bound clones and Onslaught drones. Or Onslaught clones, I think. I don't know, they're either drones or clones, whichever one they are. I don't have that kit yet. I'm hoping to get some here in the future with some Vanguard monies. But we'll see what happens here in a little bit. Or guys, if y'all use that code Queen City, I can get some then. Yep. Just with the holidays coming up, money has been going towards Christmas presents and things like that, especially bill pays. Sadly, the overtime at work is not what it used to be. They wanted me to come in today and do overtime, and I didn't want to. So, yeah. Alrighty, guys. I don't know if y'all were like me or not, but I work a dumb amount of overtime. Just with me working in healthcare, especially in emergency services. For those of you who don't know, like, the ambulance and the fire truck survive off of what are called hirebacks. So people from previous shifts either staying over or just people straight up coming in for overtime. We do have a national shortage of first responders. So a lot of agencies do rely on overtime to stay afloat. I know I've worked in, let's see here, I've worked at 1, 2, 3, 4 different EMS like agencies, and out of all of them relied on like overtime and last minute like part-timers coming in. Because it's kind of hard to, if you just don't have staffing, that's just an ambulance on the road, so it's not really an option. It's not like a nurse where you kind of put a couple extra people on there, or like a teacher where you're like, oh, can you cover this classroom during your break period? It's just not an ambulance on the road. We already work with a bare minimum crew on there, so when they're out, they're out. But yeah. Sorry guys, my phone's blowing up with some, I guess everybody's starting to get off work and check their phones for the day, because Reddit and Discord are starting to blow up a little bit. So yeah, and speaking of Discord stuff, guys, if you haven't done so yet, go check out the North Carolina Conquest group. They've got some pretty cool guys in that group, as well as they go over all the major events that are happening in North Carolina on there. And for those of you in the Durham area, Atomic Empire is a thing. I was there recently, and you can actually check out that live stream. And guys, we did have some major audio issues, and I do want to apologize during that stream for a small tournament up there. And they most recently had a Angry Chicken. I know this was a thing, but apparently it's a First Blood thing. An Angry Chicken gaming event thing. Apparently in First Blood, Parabellum came out with a, for those of you who don't know, Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings is like the rank and flank version of the game, which is the main one that I play and the main one I cover here on the channel. And then there's a First Blood version of it, which is just like skirmish. So you'll see them with, and some of those First Blood sets are actually really good for Last Argument of Kings, especially if you need the officers out of there. Like, if you're a City States player, you just get a box of hoplites, a polyarch, or polyarch, a Doralates officer, and 1 Minotaur for like $60. So by the time you pay for the officer and you pay for the unit, you're basically getting a free Minotaur, which is an attachment for your hoplites anyway, as well as Doralates, and that officer for free. And he's a different sculpt than the 2-player starter set. So it's actually really cool, especially if you want to have 2 different polymarchs in your force. So if you haven't done so yet, guys, go check those out. And I think they're actually on sale through Parabellum right now, because of them kind of moving things along. And then you've got the holiday bonuses for the 1-player starter sets, which some of those are pretty good. I do like them. Some of those I don't really get, like the Nords one. You get a unit of bow chosen with it. I don't even know if a blooded can take a unit of bow chosen, to be honest with you. I really don't. If they would have put an extra unit of trolls in that box, or with that bonus instead of the bow chosen, I probably would have bought one just to add to my Nords at this point. Because it is a pretty good deal. You're basically buying a one-player starter set, which is already discounted on top of that, and then you're getting a free box for the holidays. So it's a pretty good little deal. And some of the boxes are actually pretty good. Like Dwegum, you get the plastic hold ray, and then you get the one-player starter set. So you need a Dragon Slayers, the what is it? The flame dudes. I forget their name. The ones with the bazookas on their back. A unit of hold warriors and a unit of initiates, and then in addition to that, you get another box of initiates. So it's actually a pretty good little deal, and you get some really good units in there. You can always use the initiates. I think that they're a pretty cool unit, and they look fantastic with those massive shield spear combos. But it's a pretty good little deal. I haven't really looked at the Spire one. I'm not sure what you get extra brute drones with that one. That was it. Don't get me wrong, brute drones are cool. I have a ton of those, but I don't know. They're kind of one of those, like, you're either gonna like min or max. You're either gonna take a bunch of them, or you're just gonna take like one or two small units of them. My plan with my under Spire list is to go ahead and take 2 units of them. It's just like little battering ram units, mainly because I have so many of them. Because when I first got started in this game, I just bought a ton of one-player starter sets. Because during the pandemic, everything else was stupid expensive. Except for Conquest. Conquest was still that, like, hidden gem that a lot of people didn't know about. And that's why I started covering it. Also, because I was a Vanguard and needed to do something for my Vanguard entries. But I was able to get the starter set on eBay super, super cheap. And back then, the starter set was a Ferromancer with 2 sets of Force Chrome drones, an Abomination, and a set of Brute drones, which was a really good deal for Spires. And then for the Hunter Kingdom side, you got 2 units of Men-at-Arms with a unit of Mercenary Crossbowmen and a unit of Household Knights. So Spire usually utterly destroyed the Hunter Kingdoms in this matchup. The only way they kind of got through is if Spire player rolled really bad and the Abomination just didn't make it in there. Now, your saving grace was the Mercenary Crossbowmen, because they could do a bunch of damage to some of these units, especially on turns when they were charging. Not charging, but when they were about to get charged and they had that short range fire for the improved shots amount. But it was still a hard matchup. So I could find those starter sets like stupid easy. And a lot of times they came with free units. Like when I first got them, you got a box of the marksman clones and a box of Steel Legion that just came free with them. So it was kind of interesting. To run them, you needed to either play with custom rules or you had to buy the characters associated with it. So, yeah, so I bought a bunch of those. And then they changed it to where, oh, you could choose the units. So then you could choose between, like, Household Knights, Mercenary Crossbowmen, Militia, a whole bunch of just different stuff. And including on the Spire side, there were like Vanguard clones and things like that you could choose from. So there were a ton of options available for players to choose from the free side. So, and back then there just weren't a ton of releases. So a lot of times, and you know, during the pandemic, I made a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie to you. Especially in healthcare, like the overtime just flowed. I could work as often whenever I wanted to. Like, it got to a point to where my company just had mandatory overtime, where you had to work so many overtime shifts per month. And then on top of that, they were paying like 2.5 times your pay rate to work, which was just silly to me. Wish I had that now. But so, you know, my paychecks were really good. So I would just go out and be like, be sitting there and just strolling through eBay and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get this, and I'm gonna get this, and I'm gonna get this, and I'm gonna get this, just because I had, you know, money to burn. But you know, different times. So I had a bunch of one-player starter sets that were just kind of sitting around. So I had a ton of force-grown drones, a ton of brute drones, ton of abominations, and my 100 Kingdoms army is massive. And it's all made up of stuff like that. So I'm trying to make a under Spire list out of most of that stuff I have. I think I'm definitely going to have to get some of the bound clones and onslaught drones. I think those guys actually do add a lot to the list. So we're definitely going to be getting those here in the future. But yeah, I don't even know where I was at. Cool. Plus it helped that I went to Gigabyte's Gaming Cafe in Atlanta. Apparently they have a huge Conquest community too, and I'd love to go down there and play some events. Because they're only about 4 or 5 hours from my house, so it's not a bad drive either. It's actually pretty fun. Plus there's some other stores in the area I like to go to. But yeah, I went up there and I actually sold all my 40K stuff. Like, almost all of it. I sold because I went crazy when, what was it, when 7th came out and they had all the indexes with the new rules set. And I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. Yeah, so basically when a new codex came out, I started that army. And I'd buy like 3 of the starter sets and all this stuff, and I ended up with like a massive Grey Knight army, a Chaos army, and I took them down to Georgia and just sold them off. I think I sold like close to $3,000 worth of stuff that day. And Gigabytes actually bought a bunch of my unopened stuff, which was really cool. But yeah, he used it to get battle foam. That was back when I was also big into Star Wars Legion. And don't get me wrong, I still really like Star Wars Legion. It's a good system, but it's not like my end-all be-all main game right now. That's pretty much Conquest and Sigmar at this point. I'm waiting for some changes with Legion. I think that we need a new mission system. We truly need a new mission system in Legion. And Legion's a good game, but we just need some changes in it. That's all I'm going to say. And there's a video up. I've already ranted about it. I'm not really covering Legion much anymore. Usually I stream the Cherokee Open for their Legion content. I don't even know if I'm going to stream that this year, not to be 100% honest with you. Just because of some other changes, I may be streaming Age of Sigmar instead, and actually what I wouldn't mind doing is running Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings there. So yeah, because I do know the Frontline Gaming guys. I see them on Facebook and all that stuff, and talked with them a little bit just from my times at the Cherokee Open, talking with them, especially with me streaming Legion. But yeah, so we'll see. Let me know in the chat what y'all think. Do y'all think that Legion might be a fun game to have up here in Cherokee? I know in North Carolina, Legion is starting to kind of or not Legion, Conquest is starting to get kind of bigger, and especially in the Durham area. Um, and they're starting to get a crowd for that. The only thing is, I don't know if, because a lot of the players I know that play Conquest also play Legion, and when I say play Legion, I mean like they go to the World Tournament in Adepticon and play Legion. Um, so yeah, fun. I just don't know if a lot of those players would give up going to like high level Legion events like that to play Conquest. Don't get me wrong, I think Conquest is the better tournament game because Conquest is a lot more internally balanced than Legion is. You'll find with Legion, it is very, very new release heavy. So the new release stuff is usually the stuff that is going to win you a tournament. Whereas in Conquest, that's not 100% true. You're going to see a lot of new stuff just because it's new and shiny, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be an auto win, auto take for you. So yeah. And as you can see, guys, I'm painting back over green. Originally, I was doing like these weird Mardi Gras colored Spire that were like green and purple, and have since decided to go with this red color instead, and I'm going to stick with it. We're not changing this scheme because I am getting tired of painting Foursquare and drones. Because about the time I get 6 stands painted, I'm like, no, I don't like that. So yeah, we're just moving right along. These Ferromancers and drones. And then moving forward, guys, we're going to be doing these probably on Thursdays. They're probably going to be a little later than this one when I'm off, because I'm off every other Thursday. We're probably going to start these around the 7 o'clock area, but on days I work, I can't guarantee a time off. So we may just end up doing these every other Thursday, which is probably more feasible for me, especially moving forward. So we'll see. We may have like some surprise ones, like I may do some subathons for painting and things like that. Or if like Derek's over, we may do like a hobby hangout day. Especially now that I have my recording space back. It was getting, so I had to get some drywall work done and some painting done, and it's finally done in here. So I can finally film battle reports again. Thank the Jesus. So expect Sigmar to return to the channel again, especially because I've been on a real Sky Dwarf kick. My KO have been doing pretty good recently, but you know, I expect the ban hammer to come a swinging on the next points update, because yeah. Plus we got the new Sigmar edition coming up this next summer, which will be really cool. I'm excited for it. I have had a ton of fun with the game recently, so we'll see how things go. I do kind of hope that we get some rebalances done, especially with the Orc War Tribes, because I have a Cruel Boys army. Never played it. It is almost fully painted, but I hate how pigeonholed the army is to play. You either play with large amounts, or as large as you can amounts of like big gut ripper units supported by the wizard of I cast no spells, but your poison becomes better, and then the sludge draker beast of you do better poison when I'm around, or you do the shooting version of that, which is we shoot lots of mortal wounds out of these arrows because poison. We're supposed to be the sneaky gets, but we're with dirty tricks, but we're not that. Yeah. So, but that's my rant. And I don't know, the rant's not over. Also, why in the world are river trolls not part of what's it called? Part of the Cruel Boys. Like, seriously. They're clearly swamp trolls. And those are clearly swamp orcs. And they have a hero riding a troll, but they don't get a troll unit. I would have really liked to have seen river trolls, or even trolls in general, with the Cruel Boys. I think that would have like really helped that unit out and given them another melee option, other than just character spam. But hopefully, whenever they get a army update, they'll get some a new unit or two in there, because I truly don't think that's it for the Cruel Boys. I think that they're going to at least get something, especially because I have a feeling that they're going to replace the Savage Orc Boys in the near future. Like, I bet that that faction is going to be donezo soon. Either that, or they're going to get a massive update, because all of those sculpts are the original like old world sculpts, and they're moving from a big like changeover into the old world, to where like all the models in Age of Sigmar cannot be used in old world, and the old world stuff isn't really supposed to be in Sigmar. They've said that multiple times, that the Sigmar stuff will not cross over, and I don't think any of the new old world stuff will cross over either. But we shall see here in the future what happens. I know some of the dwarf stuff and elf stuff will stick around because it's going to be in Cities of Sigmar as well, but I don't know. I think Bone Splitters are going to end up getting like beaten by Kragnos, but apparently Kragnos almost gets put to sleep in this most recent like Dawnbreaker book, so we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, so something to think about there. I'm already tired of painting these. It's been 2 stinking models. Let's take a chair wine break. Oh, I have like so many Avatara and Vanguard clones and Marksman clones and stuff. We had a local who got out of Conquest, who was a Spire player, and he actually just gave me all of his Spire in exchange for some Hunter Kingdom stuff I had laying around, because he wasn't happy with how these guys played. So he went to Hunter Kingdoms with, and he hopes to play with like, he's like, I don't want to play with the temples. Just want to do all orders, like, or legions, like Steel Legion and Gilded Legion and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And he's like, but you've only got 2 options right now. So he's hoping that eventually some more of the Legion stuff comes out rather than the orders. I need to get those for my Hunter Kingdoms still. I need to get I never got the Dawn, or the Crimson Tower Knights or the Ashen Dawn kits. Now we've got another set of those Order Knights coming out soon. Order of the Sealed Temple, I think it is. Yeah, Order of the Sealed Temple, and then we've got the Ashen Dawn and the Crimson Tower Knights that are out. So there's not many. I think that's all the mounted options for Hunter Kingdoms will be out then. Yeah, I think so. I think the only thing they have left are like the foot troops at that point. And I really want them to bring out that other like restricted unit for the Theist Priest, so we can run more like priest-centric stuff, which would be cool. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't have high hopes for it, but they would be cool. I know I've seen some people convert them out of like longbowmen and things, but my thing about conversions within Conquest is sometimes they're accepted, sometimes they're not. Depends on where you go, who you're playing against. So we shall seize. So yeah. Sorry, I've gotten I listened to a acapella group called Home Free. There used to be this really cool acapella competition show on TV. I forget. It was one of the bigger channels. It lasted a couple seasons, but then it was gone. And their group from there called Home Free. They were fantastic, and I've enjoyed listening to a lot of their stuff. And they keep coming out with like some really good songs. They did a sea shanty kind of like smash up, which was really good. And they do some really funny what's it called? Music videos. There we go. It's like the old picture songs. Showing my age. Do they even still make music videos anymore? I don't know. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Yeah, but hoping to get 1,000 points of these guys painted up by the end of the month. So we'll see how that goes. Luckily, this scheme isn't too hard to paint, but I have like 12 stands of these guys that need to be painted for my 1,000-point list. So we shall see how this goes. Plus some fruit drones and some onslaughts. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then after this, I'm either going to be focusing on getting 1,000 points of my city-states done, which will probably be what I do, and then getting my Wadroon 100% painted. Eventually, I need to leap back to my 100 Kingdoms and get them done, but I don't have motivation to paint just generic humans right now. Like, that was my first faction, and like the army kind of shows it. What happened? Yeah. My GoPro that I'm using for the close-up shots kind of freaked out on me. And yes, I know, I need to do up close camera. Right now my GoPros work, so I don't worry about it too much. But in the future, I do definitely want to replace all my like close-up cameras. They do have a different one I could use up here that is a Sony camcorder that we're going to be using for battle reports, but it's a little too thick to have between like my chest and the model when I paint. So I use a GoPro because it's much smaller, and I still get a clean HDMI out when I connect to my YOLO box on there. Because I actually don't use OBS to stream into, which I know is odd, but I get everything I need out of my YOLO box instead of that. So yeah. I don't know what camera I want to upgrade to eventually, but I do know that I want to upgrade and get away from the GoPros, but back when I bought them, they were a cheaper alternative. So one thing I will say is the problem with the YOLO box is that I can't use a lot of like the Logitech webcams because they don't have the USB stuff on there. So that would be the cheapest option going forward. And you can actually use one of them, and like my overhead that I'm using, that is a Logitech webcam. You see some other streamers online do use Logitechs for like dice cams and overheads and things, and it works out pretty decently. But for me, it's hard for me to be on stream and do everything on my computer at the same time, especially if we're playing a game. So yeah. Yep, so those will get replaced eventually. And I'm out of camera, aren't I? Hey, we got 2 people watching. That's not bad. And I know this was a spur of the moment thing a lot of people weren't expecting. And I didn't like blast it out on social media like I probably should have. But we'll work on that for the next time. This was a very kind of, I was hoping to do it yesterday for whatever Wednesday, but we're gonna do these on Thursdays probably moving forward. A lot of times on Wednesdays I end up working overtime because it's kind of like the last day of the pay period, so I try and sneak an extra shift in there when I can. Oop. Man, I've been stuffy all day too. This wonderful cold weather out there. I've actually got a heater going on in here because of how cold the studio gets. Speaking of studios, guys, how many of y'all follow Ash from Gorilla Miniatures War Games? He's going through like a massive update on his studio, and his studio process is getting like, his studio just got like a huge renovation. He's expanding and repainting and doing a ton of cool stuff in there that I think is going to pay off for him. I know he kind of was stagnant there for a little bit, but I'm happy to see some things changing. But I'd love to see some things return. Like, I miss his Sunday hobby updates, which I think we're going to start doing here. My problem is there's some weeks where I don't get any hobby done. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that here in the future. Which I think might be fun to do. Keep me accountable. Keep me hobbying. Because a lot of times I find that like I get into like this big hobby craze, and I'll paint for a while, and then just don't. Yeah, so. And for those of you wondering if you want to recreate this paint scheme at home, it's just Word Bear's Red is the main, and then I go over it with Flesh Tear's Contrast Paint, and then to give it like a really nice dark red with a little bit of accent on it. And if you want to highlight it from there, you can do some Wazdaka Red. I do that a little bit on like the command stands, like the standard bearer, and on the characters. But like for your Force-grown drone mooks, I don't suggest highlighting every single one of them. Because they die in droves. That's kind of their job. They're thrown out of the vats for battle, and then their biomass is recollected afterwards for the collective. But yeah. Sorry, I get alerts on my phone for 911 calls to go out. Since I work in the county I live in, and I monitor them on my phone because a lot of my neighbors are older, and some of them have been having some big health problems recently and are not in the best health, so that way I can keep track and keep an eye on them. I know their family really likes that. So yeah. Oh, the stuffiness. How long have we been live streaming for? Is it? Oh wow, we've been on here for about a little over 30 minutes. Probably go till about 10 o'clock or so. Really just depend on how long my nose can handle it. Luckily I already ate dinner. Yeah, ran over to the Pizza Huts. Got me a Memphis barbecue chicken pizza. It's pretty good. Oop. Dropped it. But yeah, guys, if you're out there watching, let me know what you think in the chat. Think it would be good for me to continue doing like dedicated Conquest hobby days here on the channel. I think it would be, because it would keep me painting and motivated to paint. Plus, gotta feed the content monster. That's something I've been struggling with recently. Just coming up with ideas. I know now that I have studio space open again, I can actually do battle reports, which will be great. And I can also do like live stream events if I wanted to. Because I know we'll probably do something big for when the new Age of Sigmar drops. We'll probably either do like a hobby-a-thon and try and like 24-hour challenge the new starter set when it comes out, or we'll do something because it's supposed to be Stormcast versus Skaven, I think was what the rumor engine said, or rumor mill said. So yeah. Oh. Let's check the old social medias. Sorry, folks, my nose has been running with the everything going on. But yeah. Okay, so come on, social media stuff. Yeah, we're still live streaming. Okay, cool. For some reason I thought we froze on. There we go. I thought we froze on the live streams. This is my first time live streaming from home, so I'm still checking internets and things to make sure we're good and we don't have any crazy drops in rate or stuff like that. So guys, what did y'all think of the newest happy hour? I think there was some really cool stuff that got premiered there. The new Abomination looks really cool. I see we're getting City States Wave 2 to kind of give them some more options. And don't get me wrong, I think City States are cool, but I think that they are lacking a couple things. I think when Cav come out, that'll be interesting and kind of change things up a little bit to give them like a fast mover. Most of their stuff is a little slow, especially with phalanx and all that good stuff. But overall, they're a pretty decent faction so far, and the Minotaur match list is pretty solid. I know that did really well at LVO this past year. And there have been changes since then. But overall, I think they're a solid faction, especially with their special rules. Now that we're getting some of their more unique units, like the Inquisitors and things, which, Lord God, those guys are expensive in points. I've been debating on picking a box up, but I think they're just too many points for what they bring to the table. I did pick up the Eidolon just to have another character to play as. And guys, if y'all ever want to like get the biggest bang for your buck of like changing how an army plays, get a new warlord. Like, get a new hero and use that hero. Especially if it's a faction like City States or Nords, to where like a lot of the more common mainstay units like Hoplites, Phalangites, Agama, Thorikites, Raiders, Huskarls, Men-at-arms, mercenary, crossbowmen, militia, force-grown drones are all your mainstays, and you have a bunch of those. Get a different hero, man. It'll change how your army plays and can really be the best, like, bang for your buck for, like, freshening up your force. And heroes are usually pretty cheap, especially for Conquest, man. Like, $30, and it's usually, like, a really nice resin sculpt. I know there's some banger Nords characters coming out. We've got that new Werewolf Lord coming. He should be pretty cool. And I know we've got some named characters coming to out soon too, which will be really, really interesting. So yeah. Speaking of work messaging me, they just did. We're staying late on 101. Can't do that. Picking up overtime for tomorrow night, but I just realized I already am on overtime tomorrow night, so I can't do that. Yeah, so a lot of times I usually work like a 12-hour shift, but they'll have me working 18. But yeah, heroes are always good to see. The new Nord's werewolf hero dude looks amazing, and I find it interesting that they were like, oh yeah, this was going to be a Founders exclusive. Like, yeah, I could tell. That thing looks crazy detailed and cool. I hope they release, because, like, apparently the other character that's coming out, the female blooded or Jarl or whatever it is, was also supposed to be in that diorama. So I kind of hope it still releases. Like, if they release the base along with it, because that's really all those two probably need. It's a base, and the, like, axillary characters. Because a lot of times you'll have, like, some raiders or something in there with them. That'll be pretty cool. And I think the werewolves are actually coming out pretty soon. I don't know if we'll have them for Christmas, but I think they may be, like, the first, like, release of next year. Like, they'll probably go on pre-order in December. Though a lot of places don't do pre-orders in December for stuff. Just with the holidays and everything, it kind of makes sense. I know GW normally doesn't release anything new in December, but at this point, if they don't release Legions Imperialis soon, I think they're going to kill that game. Like, I think the hype is going to be so high and built up that the disappointment of not getting it before the new year is going to hit, and it's going to be bad. Just about as bad as the new Games Workshop website. There, I said it. I don't like it. So, yeah. Lever, Johnny Lever. But yeah, guys, yeah, because Legions Imperialis, it looks like such an interesting game, and Epic was so popular, and it's kind of been not really hinted, but it's been expected. Because we've got the planes, we've got the Titans. All they really had to do was release the tanks and the base infantry, and with how the computer software works now, that wouldn't have been too hard. I'm kind of surprised, to be honest with you, that they are only doing Horus Heresy to start. I mean, I kind of get it. It's cheaper that way. but I think if they would have done regular 40k and had more of the alien factions in there, it would have been a lot better. That's my only thing about Horus Heresy, is there were some alien factions that were out then, and I feel like if you're allowing Custodes and Sisters of Silence and Astra Militarum in the form of the militia and demons, then I feel like you should probably get Orc and Eldar rules as well, because both of those were around during the Horus Heresy. Now, obviously, they're not going to have some of the newer units that have been released recently, and definitely not many of the named characters. And if they do have the named characters, they're not going to be as good as their 40k version. Like Eldrad Ulthwin would probably not be the Super Psyker he is. He would probably be a much more like limited character. But I feel like that they really should include some of those factions in there just for playstyle. I know I would love to get some work stuff. That'd be really cool. And they haven't really addressed some of the stuff for there we go. For Legions Imperialis, such as like some of the more specialized units. And I know they're like, oh, well, they'll be resin. It'll be fine. I feel like that they could make a plastic frame for each legion. And it'd be like, oh, here's your Warlord, here's a unit of your specialized Terminators, here's a unit of your, like, specialized guys, like your Ashen, your what are they called? Like your regular guys in power armor that are your like specialized unit. Like the Word Bearers have the flamey guys with the jump packs, and then Night Lords have the terror squads, and so forth and so on. I think that would be the way to go, and make it to where you just get enough in a box. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to be resin. I think they're going to be expensive, because this game already looks kind of expensive to play, especially with the number of models you need. I think that the bare minimum start is probably going to be 2 of those launch boxes, which, why in the world those have not come out yet, I don't know. I know they had to reprint the books and everything, but still, like, I'm really surprised those have not been, like, out on the shelf yet. Because they're probably going to do at least a 2-week pre-order that sells out in like 2 minutes online. And then you're just not going to be able to get it anywhere. But we'll see. Who knows with that game? There's really no telling. It could be like Necromunda Ash Wastes, where, you know, you thought it would be really cool because you get like the Ash Waste Nomads on little flea dudes, and you get the quad or like bikers and stuff, and then you find out, oh wait, yeah, they're not nearly as cool as we thought they were going to be. And vehicles aren't really as crazy as we thought they were going to be. Don't get me wrong, vehicles are still really good, and you can do some really stupid things with that vehicle designer. But, you know, you can also get that Guild of Coin Cargo 8 Ridge Hauler. Yeah, that thing's dumb. The fact that you can put just a ton of las cannons on it, and then just murder anything and everything on the table from 48 inches away, is just a really bad design choice. And I hate to say this too, it's a really bad player choice. Like, Necromunda is meant to be a fun game. Like, it's a campaign system to where, like, players get hurt and things like that. But something like that just ruins the game because that's really hard to counter to. So yeah. Also makes me wonder how in the world that player found that 3 las cannons. Oh, big stretch. And a yawn. Yeah. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, my nose. Oh, me, oh, my. Man. I got so many of these to paint. Not even funny. Spire, I think, is definitely the more hoardy of all the factions. Especially if you're doing like a force-grown drone spam list. They're not really going to hold objectives, but man, are they going to deny them. Get like a big block of 12 of these and buff them with a Ferromancer. Yeah, it'll be nuts. Or not Ferromancer, or Biomancer. Especially if you give them like Aura of Death. That'd be pretty big. Remember when you could take the Plague Lord instead of doing like Aura of Death, it gave you Decay? That was bad. Those were bad days. That was the ouchy hurty time in 100 Kingdoms land for me. When I hated playing Spire. Because Spire would just come up and touch me in my decay zone. And it hurt really bad. Especially when you had a decent sized unit of men-at-arms who are like shielded with Bastion and all this cool stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, yep. Take decay 5 on all your stands. And it's like, well, I'm probably going to lose half the unit. So, yeah. On this one, you can actually see, so like all in here is blue. Originally, I was doing like a blue and white, then a blue and green scheme, and now they're just going red. Everyone's getting red. I don't know how often I'm going to play this army, to be honest with you. I'm mainly painting it for some variation within our playgroup itself. So, like, if someone's like, oh, I don't want to play your Wood Rune, you play your Wood Rune all the time, I can be like, okay, cool, I'll play Spire. Just because we don't really have any Spire players right now. But we'll see. We'll see. I have a lot of stuff to paint. There's a lot of Centaur Avatar I gotta paint with this army too. Derek, when he traded it to me, he had 2 boxes of Centaur Avatara. Which, don't get me wrong, they're decent, but they're no Incarnate Sentinels. So, yeah. Always Santiana. Along the plains of Mexico. Yep, I have sea shanty stuck on my head. On the plains of Mexico, razor up and away we'll go. Always Santiana. Oh my god. My nose. Big question for me with these guys is like, what's the best size unit for Avatara? Especially when you take the Lineage Highborn. Because usually the Lineage Highborn's unit is like the more heavy hitting of the forces. It kind of makes me wonder like what is the ideal unit size? You know what's always bothered me though about like the Avatar kit? It comes with 1 resin piece. They like messed up one of the shoulders, so they had to include a replacement like shoulder pad for one of the models, which to me is kind of funny. Eventually I gotta paint my Dwegum too. Those were gonna be like my main fighting force for a long time, were my Dwegum. But Dwegum have been so powerful that it makes me not want to play them. Especially with the with some of the changes that have happened, I may go in there and play them again, making everything a max of defense 4, and instead of going in and giving stuff Bastion, things have hardened now. That was a big, really positive change that we saw when playing against them. Because I'm not going to lie to you, it really sucked to go against a Dweghom player that was like 5 rerolling 1s for their save. Or 5 rerolling 6s for their saves. Especially on like a unit like the Flameforged. It's like, you're a ranged unit. Why are you saved on a 5+? That's dumb. Like, really dumb. Yep, that is very dumb. But, you know. Luckily, that's changed. Oh. Got 6 painted or 6 outlined in red so far, plus a Ferromancer. Oh, we have so much more to do. How long have we been live for? About an hour and 15 minutes or so. So yeah. Alright. Let's take a little break. Well, I'll take about a 3-minute break, guys, and I'll be right back. We are back. Sorry, I was checking a work thing. Don't you love it when work follows you home? Um, but yeah. Plus grabbing a charger for my iPad over here. And give me 2 seconds to finish this. Okay, so sorry guys, checking up on a patient that was really critical from work the other night. So yeah, back to Spires and back to work, or back to painting. Ever up and away. Ooh. Along the cleaned Mexico. Okay. You know, painting these older like models from Parabellum, because the Force Grown drones were like one of the first units they released when the game first launched. Comparing it to now is like a huge upgrade. So yeah. Other people blowing them up on about now. Apparently the for those of you who aren't on it, we do have an NC Conquest group. Let's see here. December 16th. Work off, work off, off. Nope, not work that weekend. So, can't go to that event, sadly. Checking the old. We have a North Carolina Conquest Discord that the Vanguard that as Vanguards we use that to talk with each other to plan events, so we're not like stepping on each other's toes. It's okay if it's like Asheville and like Wilmington doing an event at the same time, but we try and do different weekends if we can. That way players can travel and go to various events. I know Durham just had an event at Atomic Empire, which I actually streamed, and that was a ton of fun. One of the local Vanguards, Matt, he actually ended up taking first in that, and the nice man that Matt is ended up getting me a City States First Blood set because I wanted the officer out of it. So yeah, it was really cool. Plus he got a couple magic cards he wanted. because he is apparently building a Matt loves rabbits, so he's building a rabbit-themed commander deck, apparently. I don't know a ton about Magic. I know there's different formats, and Commander is like a super popular one that uses like cards from like all the sets. So yeah. But yeah. Always Sandiana. Along the plains of Mexico. Oh, Spire. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Spire are like one of the big reasons I got into Conquest. I thought they were really cool. They're aliens in fantasy. They're meant to be like elves. Parabellum, I will say, does like a really good like anti like norms for fantasy. Like Dwegum were dwarves, and they were basically like cowards because they were slaves to dragons. And then they like discovered the god of war, and now they're like, screw everybody. We were the first to go to war. We killed the dragons and took their land. I was kind of really hoping though that the Hell faction would have been like a thing, because I think it would have been really cool to have like the two offset each other. It's like the last of the dragons versus the Dwegum. But having Sorcerer Kings is also really cool. My vote was for the Dogs of War, the mercenaries, just because it would have been the most benefit to all the factions, because there would have been mercenary units that could have been taken by every faction. So I think that would have been cool, but at the same time I understand how that can be a problem for those of you who don't play A Song of Ice and Fire. They do have like a mercenary faction where units can kind of get moved around between different factions of the mercenaries and like the regular houses, and it has caused some issues in that game in the past with balance. Same as some of the like mercenary units we've seen for Sigmar. But I think if they would have worded it correctly, it wouldn't have been an issue, or if they just would have added the units into the factions they came from, it would have been fine. I still have hopes that Weaver Courts come in 2025. I think those will be a really cool faction. I was actually really looking forward to them for having another like non-human-ish race into the game itself. Because like the only non-humans we really have in the game are Spire, Dwegum, and Wadroon. Because city-states are basically human. Nords are not all human, but have lots of human units within it. And then the 100 Kingdoms are all humans. So yeah. I would have liked to have seen that a lot, but that's okay. They'll come soon. I do give Parabellum props for being like, hey, we don't like the way this project's going, so we're gonna postpone it. Like, kudos to you, man. Like, thank you for being like, hey, this is kind of coming out like poo, so we're just not gonna put out poo. Like, I can respect that a whole lot, like a whole lot, because when you've got games like Games Workshop to where they're like, oh, here's your faction taster of the new stuff coming out. It's like enough to where like you want this box, but not enough to where you want 2 of these boxes. Plus, you know, all the additions that you're gonna want won't come out for like another, 6 months. Like, that to me is just absolutely crazy. I do kind of like the way Parabellum does it to where the releases are staggered. You're getting a little bit of everything to where like a new faction releases and you're gonna get like a really good range to start with, and then they slowly kind of like trickle stuff in as the year goes along. So yeah, I know Wadroon was in a bad place for releases, but after this year with the veterans and the Tantor and the Drum Beast and the Thunder Riders and stuff, and the final character coming out, I think they're in a much better place than they were, variety-wise. Now, game-wise, they have always been in a good spot. Dwegum are a really cool faction that I don't think anybody can just win with, but if you are really good at like monitoring and timing and stuff, they turn into a fantastic army. You just have to be aware of what goes on in like your unit orders to get your chants off in the right order. They're not very beginner friendly. I think the more beginner friendly forces are like the 100 Kingdoms and the Spire, or not Spire, 100 Kingdoms, Nords, City States. They're very, very forgiving. Dwegum, I feel like they could be, depending on the way they're played, but it does take some learning to do like the spells and everything. They're not like an instant win or super friendly. Same as the Old Dominion, they're a more thinky faction. Leave her up and away we go. Oh man, just thinking here, folks. Sorry if I'm a little quiet. Especially now that I can live stream again. Thinking to like Age of Sigmar 4.0 launch, doing like the 24-hour challenge. I think would be pretty cool. So yeah. And I may even do it for like a Nord city-state set. That might be pretty fun. Never up and away we go. Oh, my nose is so stuffy. Never up and away she goes. We'll say, I hope Spire resculpts come out soon. The Vanguard clone Pajama Ninjas definitely need a 2.0 update. Not just rules, but like model wise. Oh, of course I forgot the dot. I always forget this, guys. There's a little like dot here on the shield that I like to do in the red. So we got 8 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 5 stands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, I need to do 2 more, and then we'll be good. Yep. Really, I need to do that many more. So these guys are going to be saved for later. Alright, 6 more, and then we move into the secondary red. The wash. And this will give me a total of 9 stands to run with. God, I could only imagine being on the battlefield of AF and just having like 20,000 force-grown drones just like charging you at one time. It'd be kind of crazy. Oh. But yeah. So let's see here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll have 9 stands total, which will be, that's how big unit of force-grown drones. A lot of painting too. It always surprised me because these guys like ranked up super well. I still remember watching this game on the Esoteric Order of Wargamers back during the pandemic, trying to figure out like if I wanted to get started with this, and it was always interesting to watch his battle reports, especially when they changed it to where characters were their own stand. God, that like blew their minds. But yeah. But yeah, it was always fun watching them play. They kind of got me started into the game. Parabellum actually sent them a bunch of stuff when they first started up and going, which was really cool. And I know Play on Tabletop, they got a bunch of stuff up when they first started covering Conquest. And they've done like really good coverage of the game itself and had some cool battle reports that ended up being pretty close. Those are usually the battle reports that I like a lot better. Or the underdog story to where like a faction is behind and they come out back on top in the end. So and I remember those early days of Conquest where you were racing for points. So like when the missions came out, it was the first to 10 victory points won. So you would either be like killing units to gain victory points or holding objectives to gain victory points. And then like you had your secondaries and killing your opponent's warlord and all different types of stuff, which was pretty cool. I do kind of miss some of those missions to where they were like a race, but at the same time it's hard to balance some factions that way. Like the Nords were all about like the early game. A lot of their units were light. They came in early, and they were pretty good. They were pretty fast, so they could get up the table and just wreak havoc on their enemies. But their releases were the big thing that limited them in the beginning, because they didn't have any like mediums. They had heavies, and mediums were the only thing that could score in the game. Mediums and heavies were. So a lot of times they just use their light units to get in there and do damage. And then their ogres came in, which were their only medium units, and those were brutes. They were supposed to be up doing damage, but instead they were the only thing that could score for Nords. So they would have to run those things into scoring zones to try and get some victory points, which was not like the point of Ogre. And then Huskarls came out, and it kind of changed the whole landscape of the Nords faction. Then we got the Valkyries and the Volva, and that's probably my favorite unit in Last Argument of Kings. Like, they just look absolutely fantastic model-wise. I need to get some. I need to actually bust my Nords out of their boxes and start building those up. But we'll see how that goes in the future. Oh. We'll say one of the bad things about painting like this is my back hurts. Ooh. Heave her up and away we go. Away, Santiana. Heave her up and away we go. You know, thinking back to the early days of Conquest, it's amazing how things were. It was actually like a crazy time. Because Spire, Ferromancies, and Biomancies were like draw events, and they were like crazy good. But man, no offense, like the esoteric Wargamers group were like, these are melty men. And it was because you could super soup up your force-grown drones with some of these Biomancies and Ferromancies, and they could do some decent damage, and you can still do this in the game. But then they would absolutely melt afterwards. Like, Not a question of if, it was a matter of how many. Because they would have decay on them. And you could have like decay stupid amount, which was crazy. And then you had a ton of units with like burnout and things like that that would buff them, but also give them decay, and it was kind of funny. You'd see like a whole unit of force-grown drones charge, like double time it across the battlefield, and get like a stupid number of clash value enhancements, but then the whole unit would be gone after they swung, because decay would happen after the unit activated. So like you'd get one really good activation with them, and then they would just fall apart. And it made sense for force-grown drones, because like lore-wise for these guys, they're bred and made for a battle. They don't stick around. They don't have an immune system. So they literally get dumped out of vats onto the battlefield. They fight one battle, and then they just melt or die in the battle. And then they're collected for biomass again. So yeah. Give her up and away we go. Oh. Alright. Along the plains of Mexico. I don't know why, but sea shanties are stuck in my head tonight. It's kind of silly. Okay. That's 8 stands already. one more stand to do the red on, and then we're probably gonna call it for the night and do the rest a different time. And 11. I need to do 2 out of there to make it 12. What in the world is going on in the Discord? Oh God, when someone uses a modern term and everyone else in Discord doesn't know what it means. And they're debating if it's... Oh, I'm not even going to go there. All right. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Mexico, leave her up and away we'll go. Always Alright, we're just gonna do these 2 because this will give me 8 stands. Plus the Ferromancer will make a solid 9 stand block. So that'll be a solid choice. If you're wondering about this bone color, guys, it's really, really easy to do. It's Skulls Nord Contrast from Games Workshop. Works really, really well. So yeah. I hate when your paint starts to like not really separate, but like have like a weird thin spot in it. Leave her up and away we'll go. Yep. Should have told me I was up in the corner all painting away and y'all couldn't see nothing. Oh, if I need to get 800 points of these guys done. Oh. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, last one. And then it's just details. Well, a little contrast and then details. But still, that's not bad at all. Always Santiana, the plains of Mexico. Painting the red on models. Boom, boom, boom. Painting red on models. Boom, boom. And a pretty good crew. Oh. Okay, all that red is done, thank the Lord. Alright. Give that a minute to dry. And well, no, those guys need to be highlighted up. Oh, me, oh boy. Alright, stretch break while those dry for a second. Oh. Let's see what all I can put in a 800 point Spire list here. Spire Leaguey 800 points. Alright, so obviously let's Start with the Ferromancers. Force Crown drones, Onslaught drones, Brute drones, Brute drones. Alright, take these up to that. A standard bearer. Make this dude our warlord. Mutations. He is this one? Yeah, I'll take that. Biotic Wellsprings. And give him this. Gonna be Plague Lord. Probably not actually. One officer, we don't want that. Let's see here. Sure, we'll take that. Increase this to 8. Catabolic node. Actually 6. If we can go up to 7 and get rid of something. Eight, 10. I can live with that. So Ferromancer, 7 Force-Grown drones, 4 Onslaught drones. Delete that. Bump that up to 4. Oh yeah, let's do that. Masteries of the Flesh 1. Yeah, that's not bad. So 7 Force-Grown drones, 6 Onslaught drones, which we may split into 2 units. And then 4 Brute drones. So that's actually a pretty cool little list, and that may be the one I use moving forward. Especially with what I have available. I just had to get 2 boxes of the Onslaught drones then. So let's get into some washes now. So I was working on this guy earlier. This is just a Biomancer. So we're going to go ahead and get him washed up. Not really washed, but contrasted. With how many times these things have been painted. I can't just like straight contrast over them. So. I do feel like Spire models do take contrast paint really, really well. And you can paint these guys up pretty quick if you need to. that. Alright. He is contrasted. On to the next one. Luckily, contrast paint goes a lot faster than the other ones. So. And I'm really just doing this as the wash. But it gives a nice, really good red color and kind of evens out. A lot of times you'll notice with red that you can have a lot of imperfections in like how good the coat is. I like doing contrast because it evens out the coat of the red. And I don't have to be super exactly precise with this coat of red. Don't get me wrong, I'm still going to be close, but it bleeds over a little bit. It's not a huge deal. Always and you. Okay. Alright, what time is it? Alrighty, guys. Well, I think I'm probably going to call it here. I'll probably finish these up again later in the evening, but for now, guys, I need to take a break from painting. I do want to thank everybody who's joined me here on the live stream tonight. It's been fun. It's been our first of many, and we're going to have a couple more to go. So come back here in about 2 weeks, and we'll do another hobby live stream, hopefully adding more onto the Spire, and hopefully I'll have 700 points or 800 points worth to show off to y'all that is painted. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Queen City Minis and more. Signing out, folks.